the demons call when they do what they do. And the pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all. I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through. Cause I feel like taking off. Find a place with a view.
Hello dog lovers, this is David, producer and director of Dog TV Kenya. Today we are visiting pawfarm. Most of our fans have watched pawfarm episodes from the days of Marcus to now KU, Archibald, and so many other dogs. As you can see, pawfarm is really growing, and we are looking forward to showing you the best of the best. Once again, you are most welcome to Dog TV Kenya, the best documentary channel for all dog lovers.
My name is Moses Murigi. I'm a Boerboel breeder, born and raised in Kisumu. I went to a primary school called Pepper Primary School, then graduated to Kisumu Boys High School. I was born with a desire. I've always wanted to be a doctor. Always desired to treat people, take care of the needs of people and all that. But when I grew, went through high school, got my A grade in high school, went to campus, Kenyatta University, did a bachelor degree in biochemistry. But immediately after campus, I came to bump into one of my passions, which is dog. I'm a very great and deep dog lover. So one time, I took my car to the garage to be checked. At the garage, I found there a very nice dog with lovely puppies. And when I just saw the puppies, my passion for the dogs was rekindled. Of course, I took some puppies there. And with the grade I got in high school and the campus, I channeled all that into dogs. Now, I wanted to become a doctor, but now I can call myself a dog doctor. So I'm a lover of dogs. I've bred a couple of dogs. I've had German Shepherds. I've had Kenyan Shepherds. Kenyan Shepherds, most of us know them as Maasai Shepherd, but they're actually mongrels. I've had that. I've bred Boerboels also, Swiss Shepherd. But in doing all this breeding, I came to a point where I realized that I had a deep love and liking for the Boerboel breed. A Boerboel breed it falls under the Mastiff breeds. Of course, there are many dogs under the Mastiff breed, but I fell so much in love with the Boerboel dogs. Boerboel, there are people who call them Boerboels, there are people who call them Boels, but of course the spelling is Boel. Yeah, so I began breeding in the year 2020. Right, from that year to date, I've done 4 years in breeding. So many people who visit me, they keep asking me this one question: why am I specific? Why do I breed the Boerboels alone? Of course, when you pick a dog, you have to pick a dog that is in line with your likings, in line with your environment, in line with your lifestyle. For instance, I stay in an urban setup. And an urban setup is not the kind of setup whereby you'll want a very active working dog. For example, if you look at German Shepherd and Belgian Malinois, these are very active dogs. They're called working dogs. Working dogs, in my opinion, they are dogs which would do well in a farm setup, whereby there's a huge tract of land, the dogs can run, the dogs can exercise, the dogs have the space to release the potent energy they have in them. For the Boerboel, I came to realize that their potent energy is not as much as these other working dogs. So for my setup, that's one of the reasons why I keep the Boerboels. For my setup, it works so well with the Boerboels. Of course, the Boerboels, nevertheless, they need to be walked. There are things that the Boerboel needs. One, and the most critical, Boerboel need to be walked. The potent energy in them need to be released. Number two, also very important, is food. The dog needs to be fed. And three, which I think most people ignore or most people don't give keen attention to, the Boerboels also understand the language of love. They just need time for you to take them out, stay with them. You might be in your office doing your work, but just have your Boerboel staying there with you. They can feel the language of love. They can click to love. So Boerboels also need time, just staying with them, petting them, giving them quality time. All right, so as I've mentioned, that one of the things that the Boerboel needs is food. Boerboels and dogs generally, they fall under, the dog is known as Canis familiaris. They largely are carnivorous animals. So for me, I prefer feeding dogs meaty stuffs. When I say meaty stuffs, I mean animal protein. You know, there are people who feed dogs plant protein. There are people who do a lot of soya beans and all that. But we have to keep note that dogs are carnivorous animals, and therefore they need animal protein for their well-being of their body. So for me, generally, I do feed my dogs twice in a day, in the morning and in the evening. In the morning, I largely do kibbles. Kibbles are pellets. I do kibbles because it is a balanced diet. A balanced diet in that it has all the essential nutrients that might not be found maybe in meat only, meaty stuffs only. So I do kibbles in the morning. I do meat in the evening. Now, the kind of meats that for me I do for my dogs, I can do chicken heads. I also do goat balls. Today we are preparing goat gonads for the dogs. As I mentioned, this is one of the delicacies that the dogs love so much. So as you can see, normally what we usually do, we get the chicken ready, get the fire burning, and then normally we just boil the food. Make sure the food is boiled to cook. And then we don't add salt. Salt is not too good for the dog's bones, not so good for their heart. So we boil to cook just to make sure we take down the worms on the food and to make sure the food is well served, smelling nice with a good aroma. As I mentioned earlier, food is very critical when breeding dogs. And that's why you see we have 3 freezers. 3 freezers means we are trying to make sure we have enough stock, we have enough food for our dogs. Each freezer has specific foods. For example, this freezer we keep chicken heads. Chicken heads is very nice source of protein for the dogs. This freezer is for the chicken heads. This other freezer is for minced chicken. Minced chicken. Sometimes it's good to alternate the kind of food that you give your dogs so that they're not so much used to one food. Let's say, for example, if you have one source of protein, one animal meat protein, if it's only one, there's something known as monotony. Reaches a point whereby the dog gets fed up of the food, they become lethargic and start going down on the amounts of food that they eat. That's why we like alternating. So we have chicken heads, we have chicken minced, and then we have goat balls. Goat balls are the goat gonads. Whenever goats are taken for slaughter, we take the gonads. And it's very funny because our dogs tend to like too much of gonads. So this, apart from the kibbles, are what we feed our dogs. And that is why, as a dog lover, as a dog breeder, make sure you prioritize on food. Prioritizing on food means prioritize on freezers. And for those who have many dogs, for example, like me, I'm thinking of at one point or another having a cold room just to have enough space to keep your food, freeze your food, make sure the dogs are well taken care of. And I think maybe this might be the right place for me to add. If you read Proverbs chapter 12, verse 10, it talks about a good person takes care of the needs of his animals. If you must keep an animal, know that the animal has needs. So make sure you take care of the needs of the animal. And then as I mentioned, among the many, after dogs are taken for walks and all that, one other thing that dogs need is good and plenty rest. Boerboels, for example, they are very heavy dogs. If you consider their weight, a normal Boerboel, let's say, for example, like a female, can weigh up to 70 kilograms. I have one female here with me. She's called Peso. Just weighed her recently. Her weight stood at 70 kilograms. So these dogs are dogs that they need to rest also. After being taken for a nice walk, they need to be given a good place to rest. So for me, as I will show you much later, I have I have an area that I've secluded for them just to go and rest. In their resting area, I put for them some wooden pallet, and then on top of the pallet, I've put some mattress, some nice plastic mattress that would help them. Now, this plastic mattress is very good majorly for the Boerboels because the Boerboels, as I've mentioned, are heavy, and if they sleep on a hard surface, you will find that they get like blisters on their elbows, what we generally call pressure points. Pressure points can get them on their elbows, on the knees, and all that. So to prevent this, Boerboels are supposed to be having, let me say even largely, dogs are supposed to be having a nice, resting, soft place. They're good, nice plastics that can help with that. And then in terms of feeding, I also forgot to mention, my mature dog, I can feed my mature dog between 2.5 to 3 kilos, depending with the many factors. Let's say, for example, if the dog is lean, I can go up to 3 kilos. And if the dog, for example, is heavy, you find that you'll want to check on the weight, so you can go up from 2 to 2.5 kilograms. Yeah, there are special diets that can be given to special dogs. There are special occasions that can make a dog to be called special. One, for example, if a dog is pregnant. If a dog is pregnant, definitely that dog needs a lot of puppy food, so that it will prepare the mother. When the puppies come, puppy food usually contain a lot of protein. Let's say, for example, if a dog is sick, that's also another special condition. You'll realize that sick dogs are very choosy in the food that they eat. So you have to be very keen to know what kind of foods they want, because one of the last thing you might want to do with a sick dog is to give a sick dog the food that the dog does not want. The dog will be suffering health-wise, and then the dog will also be suffering from malnutrition, the dog won't be eating. Another maybe special situation that might call for special meal is when a male dog is in the process of studying, in the process of mating a female. You will realize that for me, I don't like at that point to have a dog eating too much. That's the point whereby, let's say, for example, a dog is supposed to mate today. The previous day, I'd give very little food, but I'll give food rich in protein. I'd give eggs, for example, just to make sure that the dog has a nice protein dose, but the dog is not overfed. Because if the dog is overfed, you will realize that it will be hard for the dog to perform its duties that is required. Yes, it's also good to keep a health record of your dogs. Here at pawfarm, we keep health records of our Boerboels. We have an in-house vet that checks on our dogs every 3 months. Every 3 months they come, they check on the dogs. Of course, every 3 months a dog is supposed to be dewormed. If a dog is put on proper food that is cooked, it's okay to deworm the dog in 3 months. But if, for example, at some point you give your dogs raw food, I'd suggest the dogs to be dewormed every 2 months, for example, because the raw meat increases chances of the dogs having worms. It is also good to give dogs a good life. One of the important things is taking dogs for spa, for example. It's very important to take a dog for swimming. If you have a place whereby you have a nice water body nearby that is safe, it is very, very healthy for a dog to go swimming and going for spa and all that. Boerboels are prone to diseases. One of the most common is skin infections. It is very common for you to find, maybe, for example, your Boerboels is shedding too much fur. And even at some point, it gets worse to a point whereby you find that they have marks on their bodies. Marks like this fur has been shed too much. Such conditions are called mange. So for me, how I try to manage this is when deworming your dog, I usually alternate how I deworm my dogs in terms of attacking both the tapeworms and the roundworms. So when I deworm my dogs, for example, I can, for example, use this time around, I can use tablets. And then the next time I deworm my dogs, I will deworm both with tablets and an injectable. there is an injectable which takes care of mange and some skin infections. And this injectable is ivermectin. Okay, there are varieties, but for me, I use ivermectin. So to curb or to take care of such kind of situations, it is important to, for example, inject a dog with ivermectin. That can really take care of their skin. Another very, very common challenge with the Boerboels is a disease, is a condition known as BVS. That is a condition whereby if your dog, for example, has eaten, your dog is full, if you release your dog to run around and play around, they can play around to a point whereby their stomach can twist. If the stomach twists, they'll get a bloating, and bloating is very bad in Boerboels, because there is no food will not be able to get in, food will not be able to get out, stomach will eventually swell, and this is normally very fatal. So it's very critical that when dealing with Boerboels, they do the walks, they do the playing before they get in to take their meals. Now, the breeding aspect of a Boerboel is quite tricky, because this is one breed that you can find a female can go into ostrias or the breeding cycle, but it can go unnoticed. So this is another very critical area when breeding the Boerboels. Now, it is very important to note that a Boer female gets into its ostrich cycle twice a year. Normally, you can find a female will begin, for example, spotting. That is getting blood out of the vulva. And this happens to a majority of the dogs. And if your dog spots, this makes it easier for you to understand the ostrich cycle. Because normally the way we say, the rule of thumb is the first date a dog spots, you count like 9 days. On the 9th day to around the 14th day, that is the dates when the dog is most fertile. Those are the dates that you would prefer to put a male on that female. So there are also other females that don't show these signs. They don't spot, and if they do, they have a silent hit. So in such kind of scenarios, what I do personally, I keep such kind of females with the males. Let's say, for example, when they're going for walks, they go for walks together. You can just have your dog, you're walking them, and then you realize the male wants to mount on the female. If you realize the male wants to mount with the female, that is nature taking its course. They'll just be spaying to you and telling you that this female is ready and ready to be mounted. Another very important thing to note, a dog cannot mount a female if the female is not on heat. So we need to also to understand the language of the dogs. We need to listen to them and be able to know what they are trying to tell us. So that is another very, very critical thing. Now let's say, for example, you've noticed your dog is on heat. I don't know how breeders do it outside there, but there are some, and I'm among that group, whereby we get some hand or a professional help in terms of mating a dog. You can call on someone who will help the male and the female in this process so that they lock easily to prevent a lot of fatigue. Because these dogs are huge, they are big. If, for example, the male tries to mount by himself and then the male fails to do that the first time, second time, up to the fifth time, it is possible for male to get tired and to give up. There are people even who go all the way to doing AI, artificial insemination, whereby you just get semen out of the male and then you use the AI kit and insert the semen into the female. Now, when that process happens, let's say, for example, your female has been mated. The female will take 2 months. That's the gestation period of a dog. From the first date of mating, it will go 60 days. But normally we usually say it is 60 plus or minus 5. There are dogs that can give birth in 65 days. There are some that even could go fewer days. Yeah, I think majorly this is dependent on the number of puppies. If a dog has more puppies, it will be easy for the dog to go into delivery earlier, because the system already feels like pushing out the pups. But if the dog has few puppies, it might also go to up to 65 days. Now, let's say, for example, you're blessed, your dog goes through the gestation period. Normally, what I advise, or rather, normally what I do, I take my dogs for ultrasound. Because another common thing that I've seen in the Boerboels sometimes have what is called pseudo-pregnancy. Pseudo-pregnancy or phantom pregnancy. You can find your dog, the stomach is swollen, she's all ballooned. Even the breasts, you can find that they're engorged, they look like they have milk. And even at some points, they usually have milk. But there are times that such kind of dogs have nothing. They have all these signs, but inside there, they just have hot gas. So I think it's very, very critical for someone to take their dogs for ultrasound, because ultrasound will tell you for sure that your dog is pregnant. And if you go at the right time, it can even tell you how many puppies your dogs carry. And why do I think this is critical? I think this is critical because it will help you as a breeder. You can have your dog in the whelping room, you are very much anticipatory, but the time and the deadlines will start worrying you, because you are having a phantom dog and waiting for babies. And then another very, very critical reason why you should take your dogs for ultrasound is there are people who prefer their dogs giving birth through CS. And as much as this might sound disappointing, I've heard of a story of someone who called a vet for the dog to be helped in delivery through CS. And immediately after CS, they found that the dog had nothing. So the dog, they did a C-section, but it was just all in vain. It was all in vain. It was too painful for the dog, of course, too painful for the breeder. But the mistake came where the breeder did not take the dog for ultrasound. Yeah. So ultrasound, very important. Now, let's say you've already gone to ultrasound, you verified, you have puppies. Normally, that now calls into another very, very important aspect, which is taking the dog to the whelping area. Whelping area is very, very important. If you take a dog to the whelping area late, the dog will take time to try and adjust. There's an anxiety in adjusting in the room, adjusting with the room, adjusting with the environment, and that is not very good for the puppies. So normally what I do, I take my dog to the whelping area 2 weeks. When I look at my calendar, 2 weeks to the dog whelping the puppies. 2 weeks is very important because the dog will have enough time to adjust, to clear all the worries. And then by the time the 2 weeks reaches, the dog will be calm and ready to deliver the babies. Now let's say all that is done. The dog is adjusted, well adjusted to the whelping room. What are the critical things you're supposed to have in a whelping room? A whelping room is good because it's supposed to be very conducive for the mother and conducive for the puppies. The most critical thing for the puppies is the temperature. Normally, from experience, I think the biggest killer of puppies is cold. Pneumonia is one of the biggest killers for puppies. If a dog, let's say this huge kind of breeds like Boerboels, if they whelp in an area that is not well warmed up, you find that there will be lots of mortalities. So most critical, get the area warmed up. There are people who put infrared lights, and I think this is very critical. More so for the first 1 or 2 weeks of the puppies, helps with warming up the area and giving the area a nice environment. When all that is done and said and done, very critical is there should be a person attending to the mother and to the puppies. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because the Boerboels, as I mentioned, they are very, very heavy dogs. And if a mother, for example, by mistake steps on a puppy, most often than not, that puppy would die. If that puppy is, for example, 2 weeks and under, let's say, for example, 1 week and under, there should be, if possible, a helping hand so that it will prevent the mother from hurting the puppies. Now, this person who is helping the mother and the puppies also need to take some factors into consideration. For example, Before getting to the mother and the puppies, this person need to get himself, for example, sanitize his hands, get, for example, special attires to get into the whelping area, and even most critical, get special shoes to get inside there. Because I mentioned the first killer, in my opinion, for the puppies is called the second highest killer for puppies, and specifically let me talk about the Boerboel puppies, is a disease, or rather a sickness known as parvovirus. It's a viral infection, meaning that if this infection comes and gets your puppies, it can be treated. Because, virus infections are not treatable. So the best way to deal with virus infection is to prevent. So this guy who is helping needs to have this information before getting inside there. And that's why you see, for example, I'm wearing gloves. I'm wearing gloves because from here I'll go check on my puppies. I want to make sure my hands are clean. When I get to the puppies, I'll change my gloves and all that. That is also very, very critical. Before the puppies are vaccinated, they need to be kept safe. Keeping the puppies safe means keeping them away from many people, keeping them away from many external factors, because this would expose them to parvovirus. Now, let's say you've taken care of that. You've taken care of parvovirus. You've made sure no parvovirus is in. You've made sure the area is warm and all that. There is another very important aspect with the puppies. Now I'm going to point number 3. I think I'll do a recap. Point number 1, I say take care of cold. Make sure there's no cold in the room. Point number 2, make sure there are no external bodies, be it people, be it staffs you're carrying from outside, taking to the whelping area. Make sure these are prevented. And if anything must get into the whelping area, please make sure safety is taken into consideration. Sanitization is done, and only sanitized bodies need to enter that area. Point number 3 is worms. Another very, very big killer for puppies is the worms. When puppies are born, they are born from the system of the mother. They could pick worms from the mother. When I talk about worms here, I'm talking about tapeworm, I'm talking about roundworms, and these are killer worms. So normally, the way I do it, people can be advised by their vets, but normally the way I do is that I deworm my puppies every 2 weeks. I continue in this system up until 3 months. When my pup is 3 months, that's a point for me that I begin deworming now monthly. From 3 months, I can now deworm monthly. 3 months, I deworm month 4, I deworm month 5, I deworm month 6. And that for me, I do up until 6 months. When a pup is 6 months, for me, I consider that a grown-up pup, if I can call it that way, or a mature pup in quotes. So for me, when a pup hits 6 months, I begin deworming every 3 months, and that continues all up until the rest of the dog's life. Now we've taken care of the puppy. We've made sure that the puppies are dewormed and all that. Another very critical thing, and that's a question many people ask me, is at what point do I begin weaning the puppies? When do the puppies begin eating? Now this is an area that many people deal with it differently. There are people who prefer weaning their puppies after they are vaccinated. But I think I'll just talk on what has been working for me. I've tried, and for me it has been working. I wean my puppies from week 3. When they hit week 3, remember I dewormed them at week 2. When they hit week 3, for me, I begin weaning the puppies. And of course, weaning the puppies, there are many ways you can go about it. There are people who begin with milk. There are people who begin with soup and all that. And I know there are many systems that work for people differently. But for me, I begin immediately on meat. I begin with minced meat. I take minced meat. I mixed with hot water just to give it the right temperature. And then I begin weaning that way. Very, very important is also vaccination. vaccination is extremely critical, because I said a dog can get parvo if foreign bodies are invited into the whelping area, but a puppy is also prone to be parvo infected if the dog is not vaccinated against parvo. Now, vaccination against parvo, normally for me, I do 2 parvo jabs at week 4, and then I do parvo jab at week 6. This, again, I have to mention that as a disclaimer, this is just what works for me. Of course, there are people who do it differently. There are people who argue, and truthfully so, that when the puppies are too young, they get immune. The immune is received from the mother's milk. So there are people who argue that there's no need of vaccinating a puppy as early as 4 weeks. Why? Because at that point, they're still getting immunity from the mother's milk. And rightly so. Rightly so. So there are people who begin at 6 weeks. There are people who even begin at 9 weeks. But for me, what has been working for me is I do 4 weeks, and then I do 6 weeks, and then I do 8 weeks DHLP. And remember, DHLP, the P still carries parvo vaccine. I doubt if I can really overemphasize that. But vaccination, extremely critical. Every pup is supposed to have its card. The card is supposed to be a puppy is supposed to be fully vaccinated. And for me, that is the parvo, DHLP, and at about 3 months or thereabout, a dog is also supposed to be vaccinated also against rabies. That's when a puppy can get a rabies jab. Yes. Now, you've done all that. You've taken care of your puppies. Up until there, you've tried your best. Your puppy is dewormed. Your puppy is weaned. And your puppy is vaccinated. The next thing, which I think many people do forget, but is also very critical, is giving your puppies vitamin D. Vitamin D, sunbathing. Sunbathing is extremely important for the puppies. For me, I begin sunbathing at 2 weeks. You know, even as human beings, we're told that when a mother conceives a baby, we're normally told that the baby is supposed to be taken to the sun. The sun is very important. Actually, I think is the best source of vitamin D because it's natural. And you know what happens, for example, to a baby if the baby is not exposed to sun rays? The bones become weak, and then they get deficiency. There are sicknesses that are called deficiency diseases. One of them is rickets. And rickets would get a human being baby that is not well exposed to the sun rays. But now, on the other hand, this also happens to puppies. If puppies are not well exposed to the sun, you will find that their bones will become weak. They'll have weak bones. And then they'll also tend to have very queer behaviors. You'll find that the puppy will have desires to lick metals, will have desires to lick floor, because these are called deficiency conditions. For a sunbath, you need also to be very careful not to put the puppy on the surface that is exposed. For example, let's say you're not supposed to put a puppy in an area whereby other dogs have been running around. Because at the back of your mind, you need to remember, or rather you need to assume that any other dog might be infected with a parvovirus or with any other infection. Normal, I think that is just normal, even in us human beings. So when you're taking your puppies out for a sunbath, please make sure that you take them either to a well-sanitized area, or you can do, for example, what I do. Normally what I do, I buy something like, I don't know how I can call it, like a porch, whereby it has a nice surface in it, has a nice space, but it is raised, so the puppies don't have to touch the ground. And this porch is just for the puppies alone. So if you have something like this, take the puppies outside, let the puppies do a sunbath, let the puppies enjoy themselves in the sun. This is extremely important. Another very important thing that kicks in when you have a dog in the whelping area. you will find that there are mothers, we call them dams in the dog world, that have different maternal instincts. There are females that are very, very good mothers that will just lie there the whole day, let the puppies come, let the puppies suckle and all that. But you also have to know that there are also other females that are also poor mothers. Poor mothers in the sense that you can find a female that is, maybe a female that is not well matured, that is too jumpy, too active. These are females that are not, that shouldn't be left with the puppies alone. Because you see, this activity of jumping here and there, there's a possibility of them stepping on the puppies. And if they step on the puppies, it might be fatal. Another issue, for example, on the mother with the puppies. When the mother is with the puppies, please make sure that the mother drinks a lot. Because puppies are supposed to suckle all the way up to 8 weeks, and that's 2 months. Now, for a mother to be able to produce milk for the puppies for 2 months, you can find a mother that is a very good producer. You can find a one female giving you, for example, like 14 puppies. And now it's up to us as a human being, it's up to us as the breeders to make sure that the mother has enough milk to support all these puppies up until the 8 weeks. And of course, the major ways to do this is to make sure that you give the female good food. For me, normally I can feed even the female thrice a day. In the morning, for example, you could give meat, make sure that it has enough soup. For example, at lunchtime, you could give pellets. When you put pellets, you can add sufficient water. You can put something like milk. Here in Kenya, there's milk we call maziwa mala. It's more like yogurt. But if you have to use yogurt, use the non-flavored yogurt. That's also very good for the mother. And then you could also do another meal in the evening. There's one person who ever told me that when their dogs have puppies, that their dogs like porridge. There are people who give their dogs porridge. And these are very, very critical things that we need to do. If you don't take care of the mothers, of course, it's like you're also forsaking the puppies. So you have to make sure the mother is well taken care of. She eats well. She's supposed to get a buffet, if possible. And if you want to take her back to a life of ration food, make sure you do that after she's done with the puppies. Now, let's say you've done all that. You've taken care of the mother. The puppies are well. It reaches a point whereby the mother now begins running away from the puppies. The mother now begins getting tired of being suckled. And let me just mention this in passing. The guy who is handling the mother and the puppies is supposed to be clipping the nails of the puppies quite often. If possible, once a week or even once in 2 weeks. Because it reaches a point whereby the mother will now begin slowly declining the puppies, walking away from the puppies. And one of the reasons is the puppies' nails become elongated. And when they suckle, most of the time, they like pressing on the milk bars. And when they press like that, they usually pierce the breast of the mother. And this is not a very nice thing. Actually, it's bad because you can see the mother can develop sores. And it can even go to a very bad extent whereby the mother can develop mastitis. So it's also very, very critical to clip the nails of the puppies. But still, nevertheless, when you see a mother walking away from the puppies, this is also another sign of growth and development. Because at some point, the mother's milk goes down. So it reaches a point where the mother has just to walk away from the puppies because that is the trajectory of growth. Now, at that point, you have to be able to step in and now start giving. That's now, for example, for me, that's at the point where I step in, I start giving milk. You have to be keen also because dogs, generally, they lack an enzyme in their body called lactase. So it means they can't break down lactose. And milk has lactose. So whoever or whenever you're giving your dog milk, if possible, try to give goat milk. But if you can't get a grip on goat milk, you can give lactose-free. There's a milk known as lactose-free milk. Yes. When a litter grows, Another very important thing is that you should allow the litter to have what is called sibling or litter relationship and enjoyment. And that is why it is not very good just to rehome a puppy just because the puppy has been weaned, or just because the puppy now can eat by themselves or rather do stuffs by themselves. But you should give enough grace for the puppy to be able to play around with the brother, play around with the sisters. This is also very good for the growth and development of the puppies. And that is why for me, whenever I'm asked, I usually say that I'd rather rehome a puppy at 3 months. Because at 3 months, at 2 months, the puppy has stopped breastfeeding. At least another 1 month of grace to allow the puppy to bond with the litter mates. That is very, very critical. Now, the Boerboel breed, of course, I told you, is a mastiff breed. And I think the best thing would be just for me to bring you a sample. You see a sample of the breed. These are breeds that were bred to take care of farmers and their farm. Is a strong dog. Is a dog that's supposed to be well built, very strong to a point that it can protect our entire farm. Let's say, for example, a farmer, the kids, the livestock. A Boerboel is bred specifically to take care of a farmer and the livestock. So I'll introduce to you one sample of our dogs. His name is Heavyweight Ko. He's an awesome dog. He's an awesome sample of the breed, because the breed is supposed to be, for example, if you see a car coming from afar, you're supposed to tell whether that car is a Toyota, a Nissan, or whatever. So whenever you see a dog coming and approaching, it should have something known as a Boerboel look. It should look the part. So let me introduce to you Heavyweight Ko, and then you will judge for yourself. Of course, as you can see on my left, I have some, I can call them snackings for Heavyweight Ko. I have pellets there. I give them some pellets, as I mentioned. These are very good because they are well balanced diet. They have quite a number of nutrients inside there. And then whenever I serve pellets, I usually crack in some bit of eggs, like about 4 to 5 eggs. Crack in some 5 eggs inside there. And then I mix in with water and, of course, some milk. This heavy milk, like the one I say here in Kenya, we call maziwa mala, or rather you could also do yogurt. It's called non-flavored yogurt. That is a serving that I'm going to give Ko today. Now, this guy is called Heavyweight Ko. This guy is 4 years old. He's born in February 2020. And there's a lot to be said about him. There's a lot to be admired, actually, about him. Whatever you can see here, this is what you call their mask. A Boerboel is supposed to have a box head. A box head means almost like a cube. If you look at the boy, and then you look at, for example, at these measurements, and then you look at this, it's supposed to come almost something like a cube. And I think it might be a right time for me to give Ko some snacks. Now, this is very important whenever you want to feed your dog. Look at the way this dog is big. The dog is supposed to give you space and allowance to be fed. You see, he's calling me politely. This is critical because there are people who have dogs that also have food aggression. Whenever a dog sees food, that dog becomes wild. And that is something that needs to be tamed. That is why, at some point, training is very important. This conversation that you have with Keyo is extremely important. He knows it's time to be fed, but he's also giving me some respect, some distance, because he knows he will only eat whenever he's allowed to do that. Now that he's passed the test, trying to give me high five, now that he's passed the test, we can allow him to take his meal. Keyo, good boy. Go for it. Yeah, you can go for it. Now, as you can see, this is, as I said, is a good specimen of a Boerboel. A Boerboel is supposed to be this thick. A Boerboel is not a small dog. Whenever you see, whenever the dog comes out as small, it means there is a problem somewhere. It could be in the blood, or it could be a cross. It could be. It's not a pure Boerboel. But if you have a pure Boerboel, the neck is supposed to be this thick. If you look at the limbs, the legs are thick and stocky. They have the gut is full. If you check the height, Boerboel are supposed normally for the male, they're supposed to be between 65 to around 66 centimeters in length. And when you're measuring the height of a Boerboel, normally we measure down from the foot up to the neck. Let's say when the dog is upstanding, you're supposed to measure from down up to this point. This is supposed to tell you the height of the dog. When you look at Keyo, when you look at the hind side, the back side, that is what we call the hind quarters. Hind quarters is also very important for the Boerboel because they inform the structure. The structure is supposed to be well informed, and this will help the dog in terms of his functionality, movement. Let me mention something else about the Boerboel. It's about their pastern. Remember, I told you when a Boerboel is a puppy Boerboel, when it's brought up wrongly, that is when they're not exposed to sun, their bones become weak. Bones becoming weak is mostly manifested on the pasterns. And when I talk about the pastern of a Boerboel, I'm talking about the lower part of his leg. A Boerboel is when a Boerboel steps down, is supposed to step down firmly. Supposed to step down firmly, almost the way a lion does. Firm, tight. But whenever you see a Boerboel is stepping down with the toes stretched out as though it's trying to find balance, it means the pasterns have been weakened, and that normally sometimes begins from puppy stage. Another very critical thing with the Boerboel is whenever you're feeding your Boerboel dogs, it's very important for you to add to them calcium. Calcium is very, very important for the Boerboel breed because calcium is the one now that takes care of their bone and all that. Breeding dogs is a matter of playing around, or rather juggling around the bloodlines, juggling around the genes. Keyo, for example, he's a dog that I imported all the way from South Africa. I imported him for a couple of reasons. One is his bloodline. Is a kind of bloodline that I needed to introduce in my breeding program. Now, bloodline is very important whenever you are sourcing for a Boerboel. Reason is, it is very important for you to know the pedigree of your dog. Whenever you know the pedigree of your dog, it will help you on how to choose the pairing. For example, if I need to pair Keyo to a female, I need to know Keyo's pedigree, how it looks, and then I need to compare with how the female pedigree looks. Let's say, for example, I didn't know Keyo's pedigree. It happens sometimes that you can breed a dog whose bloodline and that of the female are closely or tightly related. And whenever this is done, usually the combination might fail to click. You can find that whenever the genes are too close, they could produce dogs that have deformities. They could, for example, produce dogs that are infertile. There's some other dogs that are produced that have longer fur. Boerboels are supposed to have short fur. They're supposed to be like this. But whenever you find a Boerboel with fur long, looking almost like a German Shepherd, most of the time the reason is the puppies were closely line bred. That means whoever did the breeding did not understand the pedigree of the father, did not understand the pedigree of the mother. And that is why whenever you source for a Boerboel, most importantly, look for the bloodline that will click well with the Boerboel that you already have. So whenever, for example, you need to source a dog, and for example, let's say you are importing a dog, there's usually a procedure involved. And the procedure is that first you have to identify the dog. You have to identify the dog from the breeder, talk over with the breeder, understand the rehoming fee that the breeder is comfortable with. And then after identifying the dog, there are things that needs to be done. For example, before the dog is shipped over, there are documentations. For example, import permit and export permit that needs to be put in place. And then after that, you need also to locate a shipper, a good shipper that will help you ship the dog all the way from the country you're shipping him from to your country. These are very, very important. And then when a dog is shipped, of course, among the documentation, the dog is supposed to be checked by a vet to make sure the dog is being shipped in a healthy state, when the dog is healthy and when the dog is not sick at all. Now, when all that is done, let's say you've locked in with a shipper, you finalized with the breeder who is releasing to you a dog, then that's it. When all the documentation is in place, the dog will be airlifted and the dog will come all the way to your country. When the dog lands in, there needs to be a vet also at the airport, also to double check, to cross check, and to make sure the dog is healthy. That is how to import a dog. And even it works both ways. At some point, you might need to export out a dog. The procedure is the same. Make sure you have all the documentation in place. Make sure the dog is healthy and tested. And there are other countries. Let's say, for example, a country like the United States. If you want to take a dog as far as the United States, the US have requirements sometimes that are a little bit more. For example, a dog needs to pass through a test known as titer test. In titer test, a dog needs to be vaccinated for rabies. A blood sample is taken, sent to the lab, and then when the results comes in, and then the dog passes the titer test, or rather the titer test, that's when the dog is given the green lights, or rather the go-ahead that the dog can be exported. Titer test is a test to check on the rabies level, the rabies level in a dog. Because a dog is supposed to be shipped when already he has rabies level in his blood. That means he has been vaccinated. Vaccination against rabies is just introducing weakened rabies into the dog and into the system. When the levels that are attained, it means the dog is fine. It has the levels, but is still okay, or rather is still healthy with such kind of levels in the bloodstream. For sure, breeding the Boerboel, or rather breeding any other dog, it doesn't lack challenges. There are plenty challenges. And for me, there are challenges that I've faced when in my breeding. And one of the biggest thing that somebody needs to take care of is to make sure that two, for example, mature dogs that have never met, that they don't meet. There are fights. Boerboels are also very tough dogs. If two dogs meet and they've not met before, or they were not raised together, they could fight. I've personally come across such a challenge, whereby one male dog met another, and they fought, and we had to bring in some of our helping guys to come and help separate. So is the challenge I talked about prior. It's called a challenge of pseudo pregnancy, whereby you do all your stuff, do all your breeding, mate your dogs. But at the end of the day, when you take your dog for ultrasound, you find that the dog looks pregnant, but actually, in the real sense, the dog is not pregnant. That is another humongous challenge that the Boerboel breeders face. Another challenge, of course, that the Boerboel breeders face is the one I talked about of twisting of the stomach. And I think many breeders are supposed to be very careful who breed the Boerboel, because Boerboel are large dogs and their cavity, the cavity that carries the stomach, is large. Their stomachs are mostly prone to twist whenever they run and play around, mostly after they have eaten food. This is something I've experienced. I've lost a dog to such kind of situations. They're called bloating. There are scientific names that people call them, but it's bloating, and the bloating for dogs is very bad. Actually, they're usually fatal, and rescuing a dog from bloating it's quite crazy. Of course, another big challenge with breeding the Boerboels, as you've seen KO, they have large appetite. So whenever you're breeding Boerboels, you have to be ready, you have to be prepared. You have at least to make sure that the account that goes into their food is well managed, because actually they eat well and they eat a lot. So that also informs any dog lover, any breeder who wants to breed a Boerboel, to try as much as possible to breed a number of Boerboels in accordance to one's capacity, because food can never be overemphasized. Food is critical, and if you have a Boerboel, make sure you have the number of Boerboels that you can feed well. Yeah, for sure, I know human beings generally, unless otherwise, they are born with a desire to love pets, desire to love animals. But as we all know, as you know, you can find someone who is scared of dogs. For example, the way I'm seated closely to KO, you can find somebody who would love to do such kind of a thing, but they have innate fear. They fear coming close to a dog. My advice to such kind of people is this. You need to understand that dogs understand the language of love. You see the way this guy is chilled, it's because of the energy and the vibration I'm giving him. He can sense I'm sending in the vibration of love, the vibrations of confidence. So whoever is scared of a dog, just try to, if possible, to understand the language of dogs. And I can assure you, dogs really understand the language of love. Whenever you love a dog, be assured the dog will give the love back. There are many people who say that the dog is the most loyal friend that someone can have. And I think I can attest that that is true. Right now, we're going to do nail clipping, making sure that the nails of the puppies are well kept, they are neat, they're small. If the nails are longer than expected, they'll bruise on the mother while suckling. So it's very important, very critical to keep the nails as short as possible. Let's begin the nail clipping. We're going to begin with this young boy over here. This sweet boy is called Pawfarm de la Creme. Very important to keep his nails short. While clipping the nail, please make sure you only do at the tip. If you go beyond the tip, there's a possibility to scratch to some vein and get blood oozing out. Second to be clipped is Pawfarm the Dawn. There's also a boy. We also just remove the tip of the nails only. Sorry. Of course, last but not least, we're also going to clip Pawfarm Rocco. Also going to make sure the boy is clipped. This is also another. This is a boy. His name is Pawfarm Rocco. Let's also get him clipped. Nail clipping is very important to get the puppies' nails short. Remember, while the puppies are walking, they walk with their pastern facing downwards. So if the nails are longer, you'll find that it will affect the puppy's movement. And if the nails are long and they're not clipped, the nails will start taking different shapes. So very critical, keep the nails short. And then while the puppies are still suckling, it's also very good when the nails are short. Because remember, when they suckle as they push against the mother's breast. So if you find a mom that's being breastfed by puppies that are not clipped, you'll find the mom having wounds around the breast area, and that is not too good for the mother, because if it's so much advanced, it can lead even to mastitis. So very important, on a weekly or at least weekly, please ensure the puppies are nail clipped. While feeding your dogs, many people I know give their dogs chicken heads, they give beef and all that. But remember also to use kibble, because kibbles normally are well balanced diet. You'll find kibbles have a lot of nutrients. When you do animal meat, just remember that is pure protein. Very important, also add some kibbles by the side. And then of course we smash in some eggs. And then we are going also to add something which is very important. Many people might not know this, but this is yet another very good ingredient while you want to work on the bones of the dogs. This is crushed chicken, these crushed eggshells. Crushed eggshells, you just take a little bit, just a pinch, like a pinch of salt, add it on the food. And please remember, crushed eggshell is purely calcium. This goes directly to their bones, goes directly to their pasterns to ensure they have strong pasterns. So when it's thoroughly mixed, it looks something like this. This ensures that everything is mixed up well. They can't eat the food and leave alone the eggshells. This is a proper diet for the puppies. Pawfarm here, we always believe that dog breeding, keeping dogs, it's also very important to have the dogs in a family. You can't have a dog in solitude, you can't have a dog alone. Well, as much as maybe so many people do that, but you see, if you have dogs numbering from 2, 3 and onwards, it's very critical for a dog to know that he or she belongs in a family. If a dog belongs in a family, most often than not, that dog is well kept. Yeah, and today here I want to introduce the team that we have here. We also have Pawfarm family dogs. Let's begin with this girl here. This girl here is called Peso. And then I'm going to introduce the Pawfarm family, starting from my immediate left.
Steven Wesonga. I'm working for Pawfarm Kennels. Mi napiga job ya walk, kutoa dogi nje kupiga walk. Hapa ndani nashughulika na cleaning, maldog na lala, kitu kama hiyo.
Okay, welcome. Here my name is Ruben Mungai. When I wake up, I always make sure that all puppies are well prepared, such that mostly I do whelping. I stay with mothers, and then I take care of puppies, like preparing foods and walks. Thank you.
My name is Grace. I work at Pawfarm. I'm the administrator, and I also make sure that all records for our dogs are well kept. Thank you.
My name is Murigi. I work at Pawfarm Kennel. I cook for dogs, and I help in cleaning the dogs and walk for the dogs.
My name is Robin Jones. I work at pawfarm. My work here is to help in walking the dogs, cleaning the dogs, and also maintaining the grown pups. Thank you.
As I had mentioned, many people say, and I think it's true, cleanliness is next to godliness. Here at pawfarm, we make sure we wash our dogs at least once in 2 weeks. That means like washing twice in a month. For us, that's the very least. But ordinarily, we do once a week. Now, washing is very crucial for the dogs because as the dogs are walked out, as the dogs interact with the external environment, they might attract ectoparasites on themselves. You can find a dog going out, coming back with fleas, maybe going out, coming down with a tick or so. So washing takes care of this because as you wash with clean water. You also add some detergents that also have drugs that will deal with the ectoparasites. So we use detergents, and we also use other form of liquid drugs that take care of these ectoparasites, and we're going to show you shortly. KO is just but one of the Boerboels that we have here at pawfarm Kennel. At pawfarm Kennel, we have quite a number of Boerboels, and people love them. People love them in different ways. For example, we have a black Boerboel called Marcus. For those who don't know Marcus, they can go still to Dog TV, check. There's a place whereby we're featured, pawfarm, we're featured in Dog TV. There's a dog there called Marcus. You can check him there. And those who probably are interested to see most of pawfarm dogs, you can find us on Facebook. On Facebook, we are in our page is called pawfarm Kennel. We are also on Instagram, pawfarm Kennel, and we are also on TikTok. If you reach us there, we could show you more of what we have. And for those who probably would like to hit me up, give me a shout out, talk to me, you can reach me on +254 723 674161. Hit me up. Let's talk. Let's talk about the Boerboel. I can answer, for example, any questions that you have. One more time, welcome to pawfarm Kennel. This is a setup that we have here at pawfarm Kennel. As you can see, we've majorly done expanded wire to make sure the place is well aerated. As I mentioned that after dogs are taken for walks and all that, they need to have a nice, safe place where they go, chill out and rest. As you can check from the farthest, all the way, from the left all the way to the right, the dogs are chilled, the dogs are relaxed. And this happens majorly because early in the morning, the dogs were taken out for a walk. And when dogs go for a walk, jump around, exercise, release the potent energy, after they've done all that, now they get to a resting state. And this resting state is very, very crucial to the dogs. Whenever you come and find your dog is not rested, your dog is all jumpy in the kennel, that is a sign. That's a dog trying to talk to you and tell you, I have potent energy that I need to release. But from what you can see, the dogs are well rested, means they have well exercised. Their energy is almost fully expanded. From the far left, we have a young female. This is a female that was brought to pawfarm Kennel for stud. Stud, I talked about it prior. Stud is where now they bring to get a seed, or rather a mating from our males. From the far left, we have Terry. Then second here, we have Stitch. Stony Stitch is the eldest. He's the eldest dog at pawfarm Kennel. Stitch right now is at, he's 8 years old. So actually he's our oldest dog. And then here we have the second female. This is also a female that came for stud services. And then here we have a male. Yeah, that's Bitcoin. This is our Crypto King. Right after Bitcoin, we have yet another female. This female is called Maya. She's called Tosland Maya. Another awesome female we have here at pawfarm Kennel. Yes. This is Tosland Maya. Maya, good girl. As you can see, she's also very much typical Boerboel. And for a female, I think she looks so thick. Very nice gut, very alert. She's a young female. Right now she's 3 years old, going to 4. That is Tosland Maya for you. And then after Maya, we have Archibald. If you can notice, we are arranging our dogs. We are alternating our dogs. Whenever we put a female, right after the female, we put a male. So after Maya, we have Archibald. Archibald is a Targas dog. His name is Targas Archibald. This color is called fawn. Fawn is a light brown color. You see, Archibald is fawn with thick bones, black mask, and this is yet another quite a young male, because he's currently at 4 years. Archibald is 4 years old. Thank you, Archibald. After Archibald, we have yet another female. This is our youngest female. It's a black female. Her name is Masha. We call her Masha Bear. She's our youngest female. Masha, that's our girl. She's called Masha, a black female. Of course, as you can see, has very nice structure. Masha is now 1 year, 8 months, heading to 2 years. Right after Masha, we have another male, a black male. His name is Marcus. He's called Umbo Africa Marcus. Yeah. Marcus is yet another very awesome male. This is a male that we intended for him to remain undocked. As you can see, he's the first dog you've seen with the tail on. Yes. That is Marcus for you. Marcus currently is 4 years old. Still, we consider him a very young dog. After Marcus, we have another female. Her name is Starling Leviticus. Starling Leviticus is a dog that I also brought in from my friend, a very good friend of mine of Sterling Boerboels. His name is Jabo. Leviticus is yet another dog that was also left undocked. And I think the boar also looks so awesome with their tails still on. That is Leviticus for you. This color is called, actually it's brown, but it's a deep brown. So in the Boerboel world, we call the deep brown color, we call it red. So Leviticus, her color can be classified under red with a black mask and of course with her tail on. Thank you, Leviticus. Right after Leviticus, we have the male that we sat with him minutes ago. His name is Heavyweight Keio. Awesome male. Look at that. Let him stand there. Now that is what is called presence. A Boerboel is supposed to come and come with presence, showing that a massive dog is in the picture. Yes, that is a heavyweight Keio for you. Keio, as I mentioned earlier, is born 2020, so Keio is 4 years old. Thank you. Last, but of course not the least, we have a dog that we call Mama Africa here at pawfarm. Her name is Imara. She walks with a lot of poise and pride. That is Imara for you. Imara's color is like the color that we showed you before. She looks more like Archibald. This color is called fawn. Also a very, very thick dog, a young, 3 years old. That is Imara for you. And guys, to get more information on dogs and everything about dogs, continue watching Dog TV Kenya, the best documentary channel for dog lovers and for breeders. Thank you.